I am Dr. Patricia Berry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. Please excuse my voice just before I started. It decided to be a little funny. I saw this full video by Law and Crime. So I did a shorter video where I did cover this one. The full video wasn't out at that time, and Sarah Boone is going to mention having a pretend judge in her mind so that she can better manage her interactions with her lawyer. And one of y'all asked me to please talk about this. So we are going to watch this hearing. Like I said, I was not able to cover the full hearing. It wasn't available when I initially reviewed it. Yes, that was yesterday on Monday. Was that Monday? Yes, I want to say that was Monday. Welcome, welcome everyone. I hope y'all are having a good day too. So glad to get to go live with you all. So let's hop right in. And I'm going to interrupt very quickly because watch Sarah Boone after she sits down and she notices the camera.
Could you go get Mr. Cashman in this
She looks over, she smiles. This really just breaks my heart for Jorge's family because Sarah seems like she likes this. Like she likes the fact that the courts are here. And it's almost, in my mind, it's almost like she's saying, oh, like y'all have no idea what I'm about to say. And honestly, I really didn't. What she goes on to say is, we are going to talk about it. This statement was why I have to cover this again. I shared the full link on the community tab and I was just like, this is not enough. We do not get to hear from the pretend judge. And I have some thoughts of where I think this might have come from. And so let's go. Her lawyer is going to start out first once the judge gets everything started. Let me fast forward. Right, the sound is a little.
Dave Castro on behalf of the state.
Patricia Cashman, I'm here for Ms. Boone.
All right. We set this matter this morning for a status hearing. Ms. Boone, good morning. Counselors, good morning. What is the status for where we find ourselves currently, Ms. Cashman?
I think that Ms. Boone wants to speak to you about that. Mr. Cacciatore and I have had email correspondence and a phone conference this week, and we believe that it can be ready to be set for a trial date late August, early September. I've got a trial certain murder in front of Judge Harris that's going to be a minimum of a week starting August 5th.
And then she's going on
vacation. 14th, I believe, for a week. And at this point, those are the calendar issues that I have. I have other cases set, but I'm, as you know, Judge, waiting on pretrial and waiting to see what really goes and what doesn't. Obviously, I have other things on trial dockets through July, August, and September, but those are the for sures.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Cacciatore, anything from your side of the ledger, sir?
No, I think this court's aware of the state circumstances.
Sounds like he's saying no.
I've already said. Other than that,
He is not at a mic.
pretty amenable to probable no state.
Okay. All right. Madam Clerk, if you could swear in Ms. Boone, please.
So they're going to swear her in.
Ma'am, good morning. Your lawyer advised that there was something that you wanted to bring to my attention.
So I wish that there was a mic over closer to her. Um, I am going to try to turn this up so I can at least hear what she is saying, hopefully. There we go. Ooh, can hear me in the microphone. All right. So I'm going to try to turn it up. This is going to be very, very low. Okay. All right. So let's try to hear this.
You've listened to everything in open court. You've been here. You've listened to everything that's been presented so far as to the discussions that Ms. Cashman has had with Mr. Cacciatore and readiness for trial and her dates of availability and unavailability. That's what's been presented to me this morning. You've heard the same thing that I've heard.
I actually have an envelope for you that I'd like to give to you regarding a letter. It's a lot easier for me to tell you in writing, and it's also put on the clerk of the court's website, so everyone is aware.
So once again, she's aware that this is going to go on the court's website. She said something about 58 pages. She thinks it might be 58 pages of her complaints about how her lawyer has been treating her. That is what she is about to go into. Somebody asked if she has had a psychological evaluation. I've been following a lot of cases. Here we go. Judy. Judy asked if she's had a psychological. I believe the defense had a budget to be able to have a psychological evaluation. Her seventh attorney was going to try to take like a victim of domestic violence approach or something, and also possible alcohol blackout. It sounds like those were the two approaches that the previous attorney might have been looking into, and he tried to get an expert for that. I'm not exactly sure what her current defense attorney. It did sound like she did want a psychological evaluation as well, and then the state is likely going to have somebody assess her as well if they are bringing up mental health. And so Oh. And then this is a great question. I wonder if this is the first time Sarah has felt some sense of control in her relationship with others. And I think you're saying within this court proceedings, because it does sound like she would make allegations against the victim, in this case, Jorge. And I've heard she called him George and his family calls him Jorge. So Jorge George, the victim in her case, because he had been incarcerated and they had had a domestic a DV history. And I think she called the police on him. There's a part of me that wonders if he didn't report, if there was anything coming from her end. And that's why a few of her attorneys had to withdraw, because they are from the public defender's office and they had defended Jorge in the past. So I did mention that the traits I was getting from this were more just, "Ugh," I wasn't sure, but this is after watching the full thing, it very much feels narcissistic to me. That's just my general impressions, my general thoughts. She comes off very entitled that this is all about her, even her glancing over at the the camera, she's gonna talk about her fans, all of those things. Exactly, Phoenix. If this is her sober, can you only imagine? Because alcohol is a depressant and it lowers inhibitions. And so I can't imagine. And we have that recording of her on the video. The video she recorded of herself with Jorge in the suitcase is one of the most horrific things. Before the treadmill video, it might have been one of the most horrific things I had seen. In this case, you just hear him pleading for his life, and she is sitting back laughing, and she's taunting him. And I do not know how the defense is going to explain that. Because if I was on the jury, no matter what evidence was presented, seeing that video, because people's memory and like what The evidence says this is a video of him that was recorded, and I don't know how she gets past that video, and that's why she might be stepping back to prolong all of this. These could be stall tactics. I don't know if they are, but this could be a stall tactic. This judge has been on this case, I think, and y'all correct me in the chat. I think this judge has been on the case since after attorney number 7. I thought with attorney number 8, I thought there was also a brand new judge that came on at the same time. This incident happened in 2020. 2020. Like, that's how far, February of 2020, and she is still, like, awaiting her trial. They're gonna schedule it for September, I wanna say. I believe it was September. They are going to schedule it, but the judge is going to have to read this letter. The judge is going to provide this 58-page letter to her attorney and then also to the prosecution, and we will just see. But it seems like she just wanted some attention and she wanted to complain. Those are just my personal thoughts.
I have never experienced anyone like Ms. Cashman,
She just said, "I have never experienced anyone like Miss Cashman."
and I have repeatedly, the
I have
reason
her
why I'm here is the whole hook thing, where she will change her disposition and her attitude towards me.
So it sounds like her issue is that Miss Cashman will change her disposition and attitude towards her, and I wonder if she's just setting a boundary. In my mind, Sarah Boone comes off like the type of person that would not like it when somebody set a healthy, appropriate boundary. And from what the attorney says, it sounds like Sarah just wasn't getting her way and she would get up and walk out of their meetings. That Miss Cashman probably had to like rearrange things. She has all of these other things going on. Sarah is not her only client. I saw in the chat somewhere, I'm not sure if this is true, somebody said that Sarah Boone's ex-husband might have paid for her first attorney that then Sarah fired, and then he said he was done. I do not know that so I just started covering this case, I think at attorney number 6 or so. Like, I think it was attorney number 6. That's when and I saw her letter. Like, that's when I heard about this case. And I'm not laughing because any of this is funny. Like, this is so outrageous. Like, all you can do is just like, "What?" Like, this is just very, very outrageous, and so, yes, Kelly D, I agree. This really seems like this is a stall tactic, but it might end up with her effing around and finding out, because the judge could say that she is just being obstinate. I don't know the legal terms, so please check out the lawyer you know. He will talk about it from a legal perspective, but I think she knows where the line is and she gets close to it. And I don't know that she fully crosses it, because even in here, she's not asking that the attorney be withdrawn from the case. She's asking her to be nice to her. Like, that's literally her 58-page letter is to her attorney ask the judge to ask her attorney to be nice to her. But I think in Sarah's mind, what being nice to her means is her getting her way. My thoughts and opinions. Let's keep going.
And it doesn't matter how dumbed down I am to myself to try to coexist with her. I've even come up with
So she has to dumb herself down to coexist with her? Okay.
a solution to have a pretend judge and the
She came up with a solution to have a pretend
interactions
judge
with
in
her.
her
So she would
interactions
try,
with her attorney.
hopefully, to treat me appropriately and professionally, but she does not do.
So she would treat me appropriately and professionally. So the pretend judge, like, Now, I could see a therapist recommending to Sarah Boone, like, hey, in your interactions with your lawyer, like it seems like y'all are having some conflict. What if you pretended like there was a judge there that could decide? Like when you're getting into a disagreement, you stay like, what if there was a neutral person that could kind of decide? I could see somebody trying to role play something like that with someone to try to say, like, hey, be a little less reactive, and instead of you trying to fight all of your battles, thinking you're the one that has to make everything happen, pretend like there was a judge there and that could settle things. Sarah saying that this was her idea, that this was 100%, this was all her idea, her way of trying to coexist with her attorney, and it's it's what? So let me pull up the question that somebody asked about this, because somebody asked a detailed question about the pretend judge. Valerie Ivy asked, so I guess at so on the other video, Sarah says, I don't understand what she has against me. I told her from day one that her snotty attitude was inappropriate. Not only did Sarah Boone answer her own question in in the above, nearly every time she speaks, she references someone's perception of her, be it the media, the public, or an individual. She's big mad about how she is not what people are saying, because she at the end of it, she's gonna say that she's not a schmurderer. And y'all know why I have to say it that way and not the other way. She has no insight into what she portrays when saying these things. And I agree with this, that Sarah Boone lacks any insight, and that's where this is really pointing more towards narcissistic traits than any of the other possible personality traits that I discussed in the last video. This is all about her, and because even in 58 pages, like, what is she saying in 58 pages that she couldn't have said in 5? There just can't be that many instances. Could she really think a jury would acquit her? And I think she knows that she'll be found guilty, and she's trying to put it off. If only she could get on the stand and tell people what a great person she is. So that's in the question. I do think that Sarah Boone might try to take the stand, because it seems like she's liking the attention of this. And if this does go to trial, I could really see Sarah Boone taking the stand. And if she does, best believe I will definitely, whenever that footage is released, I will definitely react to that, because it's going to be a mess. It's going to be an absolute mess. And I'm sure her attorney is going to recommend that she not take the stand, because she's given multiple different statements and they would be able to ask her about her drinking. And I don't think she would be honest. I don't know that she would be honest about her problematic drinking that her ex-husband reported. Her ex-husband, who is kinda neutral in this situation, like, he was like, she would miss picking up their son, and that's why her ex-husband ended up at her house that day, was because he was just trying to call her to see if she was gonna pick up their son from school that day. This reminds me of Aaliyah Boulabon taking the stand. I do think that Sarah has some knowledge, because what she does is she tries to make herself the victim, but she does it in a way that she doesn't come off as aggressive as Ali does. So Aaliyah Boulabon came off very, very aggressive. Sarah, she tries to like talk small to me. She tries to be kind of cute, but then she's also saying very her tone can be aggressive to me, and she comes off as manipulative to me. Y'all can let me know what y'all think in the chat. Let's keep going.
One of my meetings, I got up and I walked out on her. The last time that I spoke to her was on a video visit that she tried to have in front of a 64 open bay bunk dorm.
So she said that her lawyer tried to have her meet in front of a 64 open bay bunk dorm.
Repeatedly asking her, please schedule a face-to-face, face-to-face, face-to-face.
And was probably demanding a face to face. I don't think Sarah asked nicely. Like Sarah comes off as demanding and entitled to me.
Case, the last time we spoke was on May 3rd, where I left the room because I could not take how she was treating me any longer, and every single time.
She left the room and got up on May 3rd because she could not take how she was being treated any longer.
So much so that I have to incorporate a pre-10 judge in order for her to treat me somewhat appropriately. And I feel that she is untruthful with me and full.
And this is where the judge is going to be like, wait a minute, you're saying that she's lying to you because Sarah just said, I feel that she is being untruthful with me. And that's where the judge is going to be like, wait a minute.
Blown prejudice against me, which I believe.
And full blown prejudice against me. So Patricia Cashman, she has made it her, like, I think she's only been a defense attorney. So her entire career, I think she said 40 years or something, her entire career has been being a defense attorney. And Patricia Cashman is going to say all that she's done to go above and beyond to try to appease Sarah Boone. And it's never enough. Never, ever enough.
Adds to her nasty attitude towards me.
Nasty
And I
attitude.
do not trust her. So
I do not trust her. So some of this language, if I was the attorney, I would be uncomfortable with some of this because how can you have a attorney-client relationship if you're saying that you do not trust me? You think I'm lying to you. You think I'm prejudiced against you because those are complaints that she could file against somebody's license. Sarah.
I have prepared this for you. It's a letter and then a continuation of the letter from the video that you are aware of. And everyone constantly blames me that I am the reason
Everyone constantly blames me that I am the reason
why I am supposedly on attorney number 8, which
why I'm supposedly on attorney number 8,
I'm not the reason for any of them.
which I'm not the reason for any of them.
I put this in here also so you are.
So I think that's a good example potentially of gaslighting. Like if anybody wants to know what gaslighting looks like because the last attorney, so I don't know about every single attorney. So some of the attorneys had to withdraw. Sarah hasn't went through 8 attorneys because of her, but I think like 3 or 4 of them was because of her behavior. So I do think there were quite a few that because of letters she wrote, because of things she did, they asked to be withdrawn from the case. This last attorney, the letter that she wrote about him, attorney number 7, he filed, and I reviewed that. He filed something with the court that said nobody, something to the effect of, I'm going to paraphrase, no attorney will ever be good enough for Sarah Boone. No attorney ever will. And she doesn't want to represent herself because she feels entitled to a public defender. She probably thinks she's being reasonable because once again, she has no insight. She, in my opinion, lacks empathy, like seeing things from somebody else's perspective, truly caring about others when it's not solely related to her benefit. Because I think she views people as objects, my opinion, and views people as just a means to an end and not as individuals, humans, just a means to an end. And because of that, she engages in behavior that causes major problems. And that's my nice way of saying, like, she makes me, oh. As a therapist, so I am licensed in my state. And so because I am a practicing therapist, I have to be careful on here what I say and what I don't say. So that's why I will always give the caveats. This is my opinion. This is what I'm thinking based on what I'm seeing. Like that's why I give those caveats. I would work with somebody like her, but she would fire me. So what I would do to get fired by a person like her is say, so these are all the interactions that you've had, and there's a major common denominator. Are you open to discussing it? No, I don't want to talk about it. Well, I think if we don't talk about this major thing, I think you're going to continue to have more problems, and I wanna be able to help you. And so I would have to do, um, what's it called? I would have to do it's oh, my brain, y'all know I always lose it right as I'm trying to say something. I would use, um, the interviewing. What's it called? It's for substance abuse. Motivational interviewing. I would use because right now she doesn't think she's a problem. She's in complete denial. All right. Okay. This sounds like a question. Because she is not aware of other people or their feelings. That's what it seems like to me. I don't know that she cares. I think this is very much all centered around her because she is very much in victim mentality. Y'all, look at how bad this is for me. Look at how this is affecting me. Look at how bad she's treating me. And she's not pointing out the fact her attorney tried to respond to over 300 questions from her. Sarah's not realizing that she's being unreasonable. The things that she's asking is not reasonable. Even if she had a private attorney, because the lawyer mentioned her private attorney could fire her. Like, like you would probably do the consultation and you probably wouldn't even make it out of the consultation. You'd probably say, this is not worth it. Patricia Cashman is accepting collect calls that are going above and beyond. So public defenders, they only get a they only get a certain amount of money, and she is accepting collect calls that she will not be reimbursed for from the case because Sarah Boone has previously complained about not being able to get in touch with her attorneys. I don't think the issue in this case is Patricia Cashman. Now, I do think Patricia she probably does come across passive aggressive sometimes, like, she seems very direct, and she's probably told her, like, "This is the way it is, okay? I know you don't like it, I know you don't like this information, but this is in order to help you, we have to take a look at this." I do think that that's probably how Patricia has done it. Sarah's probably said something, and Patricia's probably been can you imagine trying to keep a straight face? Like, she's probably had, "Hold on, like, I have to stop you there. Like, we can't talk about bond that you're never gonna get for the next 5 hours. You're not gonna get bond. Your brother won't agree to come in to a public hearing that could affect his well-being and his privacy, and, like, your brother isn't gonna do it." I don't think I think it's such a problem. Okay. Are educational opportunities on personality disorders typically offered so I don't know about attorneys and judges. So as a therapist, I do get additional trainings in cluster B personality traits. And Megan, I agree. She's doing exactly what you would expect for somebody with cluster B personality traits. Um, I am sure if so I don't know the answer to this. I'm a clinical psychologist. I don't work in forensic settings. I have been involved in custody issues and I have been involved in some court issues. Normally when people get to the point where the courts are involved for like like a crime, I'm normally referring them to somebody else. If there's a crime and they're needing, some other type of service. But all right. These things intrigue me because I thought about being a lawyer. I love helping people and I like the clinical aspect of the work that I do. I work with individuals with borderline personality disorder. Most narcissists don't come to therapy. Most narcissists bring their children, they bring their wife. They might come to therapy saying everybody else has said I'm a problem. I'm just here to appease them, but they normally the people that I've met with those types of traits have not stayed in individual therapy for very long. I have helped children cope with having a parent with narcissistic traits and or having an emotionally immature parent. Another word to describe Sarah Boone could be emotionally immature. Like, yeah. All right. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any other questions. I love that little red question mark. Please do that and I'll be able to see that. Well, they need to mentally evaluate her if they can't find a defender to work with her. So at this point, competence to stand trial has not been raised. Oh, what? I'm gonna have to look this up. Whoa, Alley Cat? I'm gonna have to look that up. Because if we have an article, because I think she saw the letter and l if okay, where did you see that? Let me know where you saw that. I am not seeing that anywhere public just yet. I would not be surprised because that 58-page letter is probably very, very nasty, and I do think that Patricia Cashman has went above and beyond for her. Yes, I do believe that she's emotionally, immature. She has not had to be accountable for her actions before. I think she likely blames other people for her mistakes, for what's going on in her life, and doesn't take personal responsibility or accountability. So, an individual that has these types of traits, sometimes they do have a history of legit trauma, like something happened in the past, but they get stuck at that age. They get stuck in victim mode. Now, there are lots of people that go through horrific things and turn out just fine. There are people that don't end up with these types of traits or these types of issues. Or there are people with these types of traits that then don't do crimes. So I like to make that distinction. And this particular case, I think substances and a history of domestic violence, I think that was a bad combination for this particular case. Okay. So Alley Cat says it might have been about an hour ago. It was on the Orange County court page. So let me see. Orange County. They will probably have to have a hearing to discuss it because the judge will have to decide whether or not to accept this or not. And so thank you for that information. I have not been able to confirm whether it is accurate or not. I do not know. So I once again, I do not know. That's information from the chat. I am Googling and have not been able to see it. Welcome, welcome. I asked about how gaslighting is defined. I thought it meant manipulation by a person you are very close to, like a spouse or someone you lived with, but can it be used more loosely than that? Yeah, so gaslighting, so I could make a mistake on my stream and then y'all say, "Hey, you made a mistake." And I could be like, "No, I didn't." No, I didn't. So let's say I accidentally called her Patricia Mashman or something, and y'all are like, You said it wrong." And I was like, "No, I didn't." So, gaslighting can be a bit of a spectrum. It doesn't have to only be at an extreme. So, my understanding of it and, it's a newer so I didn't learn about gaslighting when I was in grad school. I went to grad school over 20 years ago. Was it that long? Ooh, maybe it was 20 years ago. It was 2004. So, it's about 20 years ago. I started graduate school. Yeah. And, I finished, I got my doctorate in 2009, and, we did not learn about the term gaslighting. We didn't learn about trauma bond. We didn't learn about a lot of these words. If you want to learn more about healing from this type of antagonistic relationship or antagonistic interactions, Dr. Ramani is like, she's the narcissism queen. Like, she has phenomenal resources and tools on healing from this type of trauma. And she's open about her own experience as a child and experiencing one of her parents being narcissistic. That's my understanding of things that she said publicly. All right. Yeah. So gaslighting can be used anytime, anywhere, even with strangers. Agreed. Because it's basically denying your experience. And so individuals with narcissism, because of that lack of insight, and I mentioned that they have a fragile ego, and somebody got mad. So let me explain what fragile ego means. So Sarah Boone is not a confident person. In my opinion, her confidence is an act, and it's the thing that she has to put on. I don't, and it doesn't take much um, to make her mad, to have her think that she's being questioned, to have her think people are, you know, are doing things to her. Like, it doesn't take much to kinda send her over. And so what I mean by a fragile ego, and let me see if I can find a good yes, because their arrogance, their hypersensitivity, their intense emotions, and their criticism of others is often a projection of how insecure they actually are. She probably knows her case is shit. Her case is bad. She doesn't there's no way she's gonna get out of this. The video she recorded is going to get her probably locked up. Like, it just most likely, it just probably will. And so, I talked about malignant narcissism in a video about, Aliyah Boulabon. I specifically broke down that one. Alright. And so, it's all in your head is what gaslighting is what individuals that use gaslighting, they put it back on you, and they are not the problem, and they won't admit their own behaviors or what they have done. Thank you for sharing this link, but, Karen, let me know in the chat if this is her asking to withdraw, because I still haven't seen anything saying that she was asking to withdraw. Welcome to a live stream. I forget. I think so. There that would make sense to me. I normally look those things up when I said. Yes, Dr. Honda. So psychology in Seattle, something like that. It's psychology in Seattle, I want to say. Dr. Honda, it provides really great resources and tools as well. All right, I'm catching up on the chat. Let's play a little while I catch up some more.
Are aware. Again, I refuse to be mistreated by
I refuse to be mistreated by
her as my attorney.
her as my attorney.
I'm shocked that she has a proposed trial date considering
I'm shocked that she has a proposed trial date
the fact
considering
that I have not seen anything.
the fact that I have not seen anything. And her attorney is gonna point out that she thinks this is not true. That she has received all of her discovery because there were handwritten notes in Sarah Boone's handwriting. She's written so many lawyers, they know what her handwriting looks like.
I keep asking her for just a
Asking her
download of my
for
phone, my
just a download of my
medical
phone for
records, or
my
anything
medical
that I've asked
or anything. I've asked
pretty much all of the other attorneys as well.
pretty much all the other attorneys as well, which who probably gave it to her. Okay.
All of my questions that I keep asking her are in a letter to you. I didn't
All of my questions that I keep asking her are in a letter to you.
know if you would be the one to help me answer them or to spur her to finally answer them to me and hopefully
Or spur her to finally answer them to me.
truthfully, I don't know. As I've said to you before in the past, you said that you are not able to intervene regarding my letter.
So she says, as you have said in the past, you are not able to intervene regarding my letter. And I think this judge is new. So maybe the other judge maybe said this as well. I'm not sure.
I still want you to be aware of what it is that I am going through still.
I still want you to be aware of what I'm going through still. Once again, it's all me, me, me. How bad this is for me. Look at me. And she's not admitting like her role or anything she's doing.
And it's a matter of ethics and professionalism with
And it's a matter of ethics and professionalism. And that's where, if I was her attorney, I would be getting nervous because it's like, you are coming against my livelihood. Like, you, you're saying I'm being unethical, and I'm not. What you're asking for is not appropriate. Like, it's she's asking for discovery that she's already received. She's asking 300 questions that she's probably asked the other attorneys too. And the attorney is trying, she's doing her best to support her client in the midst of the rest of her caseload. So Sarah Boone is not her only client. And I do wonder if eventually if Sarah Boone might have to represent herself with the assistance of counsel, but she does not want to do that. I don't think she feels prepared to represent herself. I think once again, she feels entitled that she deserves a lawyer. And because of that lack of insight, I don't think she thinks she's being unreasonable.
Well, she should be treating it as shouldn't have to come up with a pre-planned judge in order for her to do so. And also some other things that I've been working on in the meantime that I would like everyone else to be made aware of. That I don't just sit and eat bonbons and watch soap operas all day. I fully apply myself at all times.
Okay. Where's the letter? Okay.
I believe it's 58 pages.
Ms. Cashman?
Judge, I've obviously not seen the letter. Ms. Boone is correct. She has walked out of the last 2 visits when I've tried to review things with her. Just so the court knows, I've spent probably 20 hours, a little bit more, a little bit less, with Ms. Boone. She has lots of lists, lots of questions. In reviewing the court file, she was distressed previously about having access to her lawyers. I have taken collect phone calls from her that are at my expense. JAC doesn't reimburse you because I think it's important for clients to have access. I have
Hang on,
spent,
please. No one's interrupted you this morning, Ms. Boone.
as I said, I've spent over 20 hours going through her questions, going through her lists. When I tried to update her with regard to the depositions that I took recently, she opted to exit the jail conference. When I tried to review some things with regard to discovery as to things I wanted to make sure she was aware of, she walked out. She has asked me repeatedly for a copy of some medical records. Based on the discovery I got from the previous attorneys, one of the copies of those medical records had her handwritten notes. So she had a copy given to her previously. She'd reviewed them with previous attorneys. I sent her a new copy. Some of the things that she thinks are important from a lawyer perspective, perhaps I don't attach the same importance to, and you try to explain that to a client. You know, I know the court's in a difficult position, but at this point, we're at that impasse of, if she walks out of every conference that I have with her, I'm not sure what that says about the attorney-client relationship.
Ma'am, you said there was something else that you had other than a 58-page.
All right. So I already covered her issue with bond. I'm going to share my screen because I found it over on X. And so let me just share real quick and we can take a look at this right now. This is uh-oh. I just want to make sure that I'm sharing the right thing. Yes. Okay, good. All right. So yes. And so this is over on X. This was where I was able to find it. Okay, let me zoom in. Uh-oh. Like, okay. Let me come out. Okay. So defense counsel Patricia A. Cashman Esquire respectfully moves this honorable court to enter this order of allowing said defense counsel to withdraw from further representation in the above styled cause. So this is State of Florida versus Sarah Boone. All right. All right. As grounds, therefore, defense counsel would state as follows. Number one, the defendant is charged in the above styled cause with second degree. The undersigned counsel was appointed to represent Sarah Boone. Oh, it's February. My bad. February. She's done 20 hours with her since February. February. Wow. I honestly I thought it had been since like November or December. Sarah Boone makes time feel different. Wow, this was February. Wow. The trial is currently set for October 7th, which will allow new counsel to prepare for said trial. Yeah, right. There's no way. Nobody's ever going to be good enough. Okay. Florida rule regulating the Florida bar conflict of interest. Current client states, representing adverse interests, except as provided in subdivision, a lawyer must not represent a client if there is substantial risk that the representation of one or more clients will be materially limited by the lawyer's responsibilities to another client, a former client, or a third person by a person interest of the lawyer. So I think Patricia Cashman is saying I can't meet the needs of my other cases with this case. This case is going to affect my ability to represent my other clients. That's my understanding. Not a lawyer, psychologist here. Okay. Number four is irreconcilable differences, including but not limited to ethical considerations have arisen such that counsel can no longer provide representation. So thank you to Calispin Vixen, like that was over on X. I was not expecting us to be able to break that news today. I was not expecting that. Zoe, I did not miss it. Thank you so much for joining the membership. There is a member only video that's available now. So, the way I do my membership is that videos are like videos that I do for everyone. Sometimes they come out to members first and then they're released to everyone. So, everyone will be able to watch the video on Thursday at 12 p.m., I think, 12 p.m. Eastern. I did a video talking about Bianca Ellis. Ridiculous case, can't go into it now. Wow. And so all I know about Sarah's background is her previous marriage. I think her husband has come forward and said a few things. My heart breaks for her son. My heart also breaks for Jorge's. I think Jorge has two children. My heart breaks for his family as well, because these are the people that just want all of this to come to an end. And I don't think Patricia Cashman did anything wrong, and I don't think there was any repairing that relationship after you write a 58-page letter of how I have offended you. 58 pages. 58. She thinks might be 58. That letter, I think, is going to be made public. That letter is going to go up. I don't think that she's obsessed. I don't know. It really just comes off as this excessive need to be heard for me personally. There are OCD personality traits. I don't know. I can't speak to that particular part of her mentality. It'll be interesting to see if she did comply with a mental health evaluation, what comes up from it. It would be really interesting to see a case study. And if this ever does go to court, I would love to hear the mental health expert testify. I would love to hear this. Will she let us get that? Elaine. And for some kids, especially of a parent that is inconsistent, because it sounds like from Sarah Boone's ex, it sounds like she was not consistent in being there. And I will leave that there. I did a video talking about, can narcissists love? And the love that you might feel from somebody with narcissistic traits or narcissistic personality disorder, that love is highly dependent on how you make them look. So if you make them look good, they will love you. If they feel you make them look bad, they will withhold that love. If you aren't doing what they want you to do, they will withhold it. That happens in that type of dynamic. And they also the love is more about loving what they see in you that reminds them of them. So often that love is once again, it's more of an extension of them, and it's not really ever about you. That's just kind of my thoughts. Um, I work with individuals healing from that type of 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 um of of harm, because what can happen is if the child decides to break away from what that person wants, they may withhold their love. And I've had some clients that had to do what was best for them, knowing that it was going to upset their parent, or their parent had withdrawn from them. And because maybe they reminded them of the other partner in some way, like the adult, so the child's other parent. Because sometimes if you're a lot like the other parent, sometimes they will, and if, especially if that relationship didn't work out, that can cause additional issues as well. She has written so many letters, so many letters. Um, the thing that I think will be hard to do, so even if somebody does take a spousal abuse, saying that she was the victim in this case of him, the way that she taunts him in that video where he is in the suitcase pleading for his life, and she just goes to bed. Because I think she's only charged with second degree. She's not charged with first degree. She is charged with second degree. Mama Jamma, welcome. Make sure to go back and take a look. Even if it was only like 5-10 minutes back, Sarah Boone's lawyer has asked to be withdrawn from the case, and that just blew my mind. Blew my mind altogether. Wow. Um, I wonder if she will try to like write a letter or something. I wonder. That video, it is one of the most it's on my top list of the most disturbing trial videos that I've watched. The treadmill video is number 1. The treadmill video from the Christopher Gregor case and the death of Corey, Michelo. I'm bad with saying names. That one is number 1. I think the suitcase video might be number 2 for me. It's definitely at the top. The next one, so there are some odd ones of, like, the after videos interviewing people that have done horrific crimes. Alright. Often there can be a lot of control, overbearing, mental harm, and then the alcohol to cope, because sometimes what can happen is people without good coping skills, sometimes they will find unhealthy ways to cope. And substances can be one of many unhealthy ways to cope, especially if you're using at the level that it sounds like she was. Leticia Stout, like I think that was my video that got me no, Murdaugh got me monetized. That one was like my next highest performing, but it was Dr. Lewis. It wasn't even her. It was Dr. Lewis trying to say that she had multiple personalities when everybody knew that she didn't. Um, so if he was harmful and she intended to let him out, how did she expect him to survive? And how is that hide and seek? Because her explanation, she would have been if she had just not said anything, used her right to remain silent, but she had the nerve to say, "I zipped him up and we were playing hide and seek. We had had a good day. We were in a good place." So the defense is going to play that video. The video, right, like when they get there, she's gonna say, maybe I don't know if it's on the 911 call as well. "We were having a good day. We weren't drinking." She denies all of those things. And she says, "We were playing hide and seek." I don't know if you played hide and seek as a kid, but the way we played it is if I'm the one that's going to go seek, I hide my eyes and I count, and you go hide and I try to find you. It defeats the purpose of hide and seek if I hide you and then I try to go and find like that doesn't make any sense. Nothing she said made any sense. Any sense. Um I do believe that she has been clean. She seemed much more erratic right after, and she could have just, been the type of, person that just abused substances. She could have been a functional person. I do think she might have been employed, I'm not sure. I don't know if she was employed or not, but she could have been functional. It sounds like there were times that she might have been fine. If it was so bad that she shouldn't be around her son, it sounds like um, the ex-husband would have fought for her to not be able to be around him. It sounds like just when she drank, it was way too much. And that's sometimes what happens with alcoholism is that a person, there's no such thing as just one drink. So they're either sober or they're drunk. Like those are the only two things. Like they can't just have one drink. So and in any conversations about DV with her is I think she would minimize what she was doing, and I don't know if Jorge would have admitted if she was the one that was like, I don't know if he would if she was I don't know if he would open up about what she was doing. His lawyers would have more information about that, and because every time they got into a fight, she went to her ex-husband's house. Not every time, but, like, some of the times, she would call her ex-husband. When she found Jorge in the suitcase, she called her ex-husband. She didn't call the police. She called him, and he showed up, and he's the one that was telling the cops a lot of good information. But this is very, very difficult case. So glad that you all were able to join me for this. Um, I've heard people sometimes I click one and then it goes up. Somebody mentioned that it could be like a macho thing that maybe he didn't report what she was doing to him. It's really hard for male victims of DV to report, especially if it is emotional, verbal, psychological. 'Cause based on the things she said in open court to her attorneys, I can only imagine what she would say in a relationship when she felt somebody wasn't treating her right. Because once again, it's all about how she feels. It might not be what's actually happening in that moment. So thank you all so much for joining me. I am glad that we were able to cover this. I was not expecting to get breaking news in the middle of this. The judge has not released her. So the judge is going to have a hearing and to say whether or not he will release Patricia Cashman from this case. And I'm not going to play it, but if you watch that full hearing that I have linked down in the description, at the end of it, you see Sarah Boone kind of like as she's exiting the doors, she looks over at the cameras. And that's what once again, it just points more towards this is all for show for me versus anything else. And so I'm glad this was informative. Y'all know I try. I try. Ooh. All right. And so I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day.